USA, welcome to another edition of our Monday morning podcast. We appreciate.
Ooh, new word.
Man, yeah, I think it's all left over from the bourbon last night, but that's all good. Appreciate everybody joining us this morning, and well, let's just jump in. What do we got? Well, we don't have Todd to look at the numbers. No, they disappeared.
Yeah, welcome. Hey, you know what? I got caught up in the change in the MLS password issue with the passkeys. So I had it all set up on my house computer. No. I come down to the office this morning.
That passkey will get you. Don't do the passkey. Do the password.
Well, we didn't.
That was an option.
Yeah.
But they forced us still to go to solid earth. So,
yeah. You still got to jump. But do the password, not the passkey.
So we'll have that later today for everybody.
Well, I'm just going to say
on the closed
to everybody, nobody has any excuses because
you figured it out.
I figured it
out.
Guys.
All right.
All on my own.
Bar has been set, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. But I will. All I'll say to everybody is the market's okay. The inventory is stable, and it looks like it's.
Yeah. We're in a buyer's market. Let's just
no.
But you can't prove it or not. That's the problem.
You have no numbers to
justify myself.
To justify yourself.
So
I'm going. Yeah, it's all I have ever. It's all I have ever.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. We'll get that to everybody on the closed Facebook groups on. Later this morning.
All right, we got our Mortgage Minute by Matt Baker. We had a discussion last week about curiosity questions, so I'm threw together a little 3-pack, and then our managing broker Claudia Ewen is going to stop by to chat about the BINSR.
The never changing, always changing.
It is one of the most confusing documents out there.
Well, it's not the document necessarily; it's the way we all try to fill it out.
Yeah, it's the document.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, if you got any comments or questions, please feel free to email us at podcast@WestUSA. Let's jump into our announcements. Of course, we got Carlos Cesaro's got his big, giant golf tournament coming up Saturday, June 20th at the Lone Tree Golf Club. So I say this every year. It's a great event. One, give back to charity. Two, grab a foursome, bring some clients, and
that's exactly how to use this.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring the clients.
Yeah. And so I'm working on my foursome. Just got to figure out whether I'm going to be in town. All right, navigating solar homes. At the end of the day, friends don't let friends lease solar. That's the slogan.
Thank you for correcting.
Yeah, you did. I like
that. Was very, very nice.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Corey did this class out in the surprise office, and he does a very, very good job. Spark's a fantastic company. If you haven't heard of them and you have the time, definitely stop by Goodyear this week. Listen to what he's got to say.
And pick up 3 hours of disclosure
I'll just tell you on this. This brought me $75,000 more for my house.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Boom.
All right.
Hey, hey, look at that.
All right. So Todd's got a CE class coming up on Wednesday. This is a virtual class from 9 to 12. As I always say, all of our classes can be found on your calendar. All you got to do is go to your dashboard, click on the calendar, and you can RSVP for anything. If you're not with West USA, and if you haven't figured out how to log into your dashboard because of the new passkey,
Slam.
We didn't do a new passkey. Armless did.
Okay, but you can just go to westusacalendar.com. All right, Zillow Workspace. We got our monthly Zillow Workspace agent training coming up. It's going to be this Wednesday from 1 to 2. So if you're not familiar with Zillow Showcase, definitely want to jump on this. And yes.
Yeah. So the big thing, the change here is that it's now a workspace training, not just a showcase training. Zillow likes their buzzwords. I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. Zillow Workspace is where all West USA agents can access the Zillow Showcase platform. That's that listing marketing platform that we've partnered with Zillow on. The new additional tool is called Zillow Preview. Zillow Preview is an opportunity for sellers with their agent to preview their listing without putting it into the MLS. It will publish on Zillow.com. It will get pushed out by Zillow via email and their algorithms. It's a great way to what they call taking your listing for a walk without accruing days on market and without collecting price history. So we're seeing agents utilize that service. Now, there is a disclosure item. You have to make sure that you are working with our brokers, getting the disclosure document signed by your seller. So definitely take this class. If you've gone through the class before, but you are interested in Zillow Preview, please tune in and listen to Sam talk about the preview option.
Maybe we should get him on the podcast.
Sam's going to be in town here in a couple weeks, and we're hopefully going to have him join us.
Nice job on the vernacular.
All right.
I'm good with the vernacular.
So, yeah, and if you're not tired of us by now, Nick and I are going to be with you all morning long. We got our new agent orientation coming up this morning between 10:30 and 11:30. If you are new to West USA and or have never taken our new agent orientation, it's our chance to just explain to you what West USA has to offer, all of our programs and so forth. So join us this morning, not too late to get signed up for that. And then our React training begins this week. This is all of our technology. And so just again, go to your dashboard, click on the calendar, and get signed up for React.
Yeah, neither of these two classes are really solely for brand new agents or even brand new agents to West USA. If you haven't plugged in and found out all the different tools and things that West USA is offering, this is a great, you can either select this particular class or spend the hour through orientation. It'll definitely be worth your while.
All right, so with that, Matt Baker's in the house.
All
Matt,
right, man.
What is going on?
I wish there was more going on. There's lots going on, and a lot of it has to do with rates. A month ago I was here, and the rates were exactly the same as they are today. Now, the same as they were Friday, because the market opened up a little worse today. So what I mean by that is now 6.625 might cost, a quarter more. Right. So it's not like the rate all of a sudden jumped to 6.875. Right. It's just the cost of the rate is what ebbs and flows. And this is what I mean. The blue arrow on the left is kind of where we were, and the blue arrow on the right is where we were today, or where we were Friday. And so since then, it's like every news. It's like, is the Strait of Hormuz open or closed? Right? Because if it's closed, then oil prices go up and inflation goes up, and then rates go up, and it's this balance. Now, it's open. All right, great. Now oil's flowing for an hour or a day. Oh, rates improve because inflation goes down.
Today's narrative,
and it's all about this gas flow. Which is crazy because it's 20% of the market, but it seems to be 100% of our focus. But nevertheless, this is what we're dealing with on the day-to-day basis. And you're seeing, look at the green and red. And what I want to point out is the line, the skinny line that's like above the meat of the red and green. The wick. It's very, very wide. And so that means volatility. So when you see these wild swings, look just left of the blue arrow on the left. There's like that green right above the R, and it's like this straight line up and this straight line down. That's a huge move in one day, right. And so when you really look at the volatility, and that's really where the key is like, everything out of whether it's Washington, out of Iran, it's every bit of that news ebbs and flows the market in a pretty quick reaction. I would tell you that today, rates are about 0.25% cost more than they were Friday. So it's like, okay, whatever. So a $400,000 loan, it costs $1,000 more. Not the end of the war. You're not going to not buy the house you want because of it. And so the narrative that rates are so important, yes, it's a key part of it, but it's not the only part of it. And that's the message I want to keep, talking through, because that is where we need to be, right? If rates are 7, you're going to still want to buy if you need to buy, right? If it was 5, you're going to buy because you need to buy. So buy because you need to, not because of where rates are. And no surprise, right? Inflation's higher because of that. And just a key point is the headline includes oil. Right? Like that's, it's food and gas. Those are more volatile. So you see this huge spike up. But of course, the headline gets the news and gets on all the media junkets. And so there you go. But the 3.2, still relatively tame because it strips that out. But nevertheless, because we see how much oil is involved in everything we do, right? Shipping costs, all those things to get products to market. All of that has that direct impact. So yes, it does spike up the headline, but it also has a residual effect into the core. And then just as a reminder, I'm going to keep this on there for every month because, man, I'm doing these HELOCs a lot, and I'm doing them for clients that have equity. They want to buy before they sell, right? And so they just they can pull out call it a primary, pull it out before they list their house, right? Go get the cash, use it to buy the new place, not feel like they need to do a funky bridge loan or that has like a 3 or 4 month term, all these things that gives you more flexibility to go to market, no appraisal, no title work, as long as it's under 400,000, there's none of that needed. So you can click that direct code, but I would just say scan the bigger QR code on the bottom and or my QR code and just connect with me about getting that information, because I don't need but maybe 3 minutes to be able to run this deal, to figure like what the automated value is, what equity do they have. And then again, it's all based off a term. So you can do a 10-year loan or a 30-year term. And if you want 200,000 or 100,000, the rates vary. Like I just did one 7.1%. Like, okay, 100,000,
Well, compare that to a bridge loan.
7.1%, not bad when you consider, and the fee was 1.99%. That's it. That's the total fee. So $2,000, set it up, you get the full draw. You can't partially take it. You get the full amount. But I mean, who could beat that?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I have clients do the walk of shame. Where they finally they put their head down. I just had one guy last month where in a very creative acquisition process, and now he's getting his HELOC after years of get your HELOC. He's like, yeah, he goes, I should have listened to you. You think?
Hello.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a 3-pack on that, because if you've got equity in your home, and especially if you're thinking about turning it into a income producing property, get your HELOC in place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Yep. You got, that's it.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. You giving me the look, Nick. You got something to say?
I was just looking at Matt. I miss him. It's nice to see him.
Yeah, it
it's
is
good to
nice
see
to
you.
see him. Yeah,
How you
good to
doing,
see you,
buddy?
Matt. All right. All right, let's jump into our 3-pack. So I think it was last week we talked about, was it last week we were talking about curiosity questions?
We always talk about curiosity questions, but I think it was actually last week.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I
I
you're on
just
target there.
Yeah, so I just figured, hey, let's dive into it, because there is a difference, when we are in, especially a new buyer consult or a new seller consult, of always kind of pushing for the close, and instead of taking that journey to get to the close. Nobody wants to be closed. This is why we're not a big fan of buying new cars. This is why we don't like to go to timeshare presentations. Except I love timeshare presentations. Yeah. I love to watch me get manipulated. And it's fun.
You love to watch what comes out of their mouth to affect you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's jump into 3 points curiosity questions. So I think I love this one. Because we spend a lot of time. The term qualifying permeates everything that we do. Good morning, Claudia. How are you?
Good morning. I came in just to hear the overshare of you like to be manipulated. So
and now you're here.
I'm interested. So let's see what's going on.
But the word qualifying, it's just part of our vernacular. It's just kind of what we do. And we do when we are consulting with especially new buyers and new sellers, we're always trying to qualify. And so curiosity, if you're going to be curious, and that's part of your sales strategy, replace the qualifying questions with discovery questions. For instance, I think a great example of we would just kind of jump into when we're trying to filter our clients is what's your budget? Okay, and when you start saying, what is your budget, or how much money do you have in the bank? It's very, very transactional rather than being curious, because the more curious you are, the more that you learn and the more that you can customize the strategy with whomever you're talking with. So curious questions aim to understand motivation, because motivation is everything. So we might typically ask, what price range are you looking for? Instead of saying, tell me about the perfect home.
Right.
What is that? What does that perfect home look like for you?
Yeah. Where is it? All the questions that would actually be between the lines of those direct questions. And of course, think about when somebody says something to you. So, Mike, you started this off with talking about timeshare, and I loved that, because do you voluntarily give people all your information, or do you immediately try to hold back and be private and not share all those things that you may think are part of the playing hand that you have?
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so from that perspective is how I see this. Curiosity may have killed the cat. but the way you go about doing what you do can determine the consumer's willingness to share the information that is the most important. Mike, how many times have we seen people that go to sell a home, and the biggest thing that they're afraid of is the uncertainty of buying a home, that domino effect. And when you've identified that that's their most important concern, but you don't get that. That's not a question. That's not something you ask. That's something that you find out after having multiple questions with them.
And most people don't even know what the heck they're talking about. They don't know what their budget
don't
is.
know, no.
If you haven't talked to a lender, you have no idea what your budget is,
Yeah,
right?
and guys, I like to train that instead of asking, have you been pre-qualified? Do you know what your buying power is?
Yeah.
Put it in a positive
kinda
light,
nice, yeah.
right?
Power.
Because you want to help them. Together, we're going to get this done, but we need to know what your buying power is.
Good question.
Yeah, and Nick, I'd rather, if I ask you what's your budget or what price range are you looking in, that's a very short answer. Again, I'm not going to get the most accurate information because chances are you have no idea. I need you talking, not you. I don't need you talking.
I understand.
But
So I think Todd touched on it, and you did as well. I honestly think this is one of the most important things that we don't teach agents. The way we ask questions, the words that we use to ask questions, to engage with each other, it's important. Now, I'm a millennial. I know that's a negative thing in Mike's head. I was raised with sticks and stones can break your bones, words can't hurt you. I think that that's such a negative, it's such a wrong thing. Words are the most important thing that we have. We communicate with our words. The way we ask these questions, the way we come across as curious and not judgmental changes the entire conversation. We walk into a sales presentation. The person on the other side of the table, to Todd and Mike's point, they're on guard. They're defensive. They don't know you. There's no trust built. The way we ask the question diffuses that. And then as soon as we engage with that oh, they want to help me. I actually, maybe they can help me. Maybe they do have my best intentions in mind. Okay, now I'm going to start talking. Now we're going to build a partnership. Now we're on the same team. Yep. If you don't come across that way immediately, I'm never going to work with
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And that's done by listening. If you listen to the client and
what'd you say?
It's done. Of course. So yeah, if you can repeat what they have said is important to them, that's a great trust building session, right? Because you're now letting them know that what they have said is important to you. You're taking it into account.
Yep.
And also in addition, I want to help you find the right home.
Yeah.
Correct.
Most important.
That's somewhat important. And just to be clear, I do not have any issues with millennials. I love millennials. There's just certain ones.
Oh, just me.
Just someone sitting to the left of me.
Well, they now have two categories of millennials too: elder millennials and
All right.
millennials.
All right with the elder millennial talk. Let's go to number 2.
All right, ask follow-up
what I can
questions that go one layer deeper. Your typical first answer is oftentimes going to be very surface level. You're not going to really get to the meat and potatoes. The second answer is always where insights live. That's why it's so imperative. I always teach agents, when you're talking with someone, you kind of imagine putting your private investigator's cap on. Private investigator, detective, that's what they do. They ask questions, they ask questions, they ask questions until they finally get the truth. And that's kind of what we do. And so a client might say, hey, I want a bigger house. Okay, then you could rephrase it. And these are just examples.
Explain
What has changed that makes more space important to you?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, well, my wife's pregnant. Okay.
Right.
That's a life changer.
Is it bedrooms? Is it common areas? There's a lot of different ways to go with that answer.
Yeah. And so my ultimate goal is I know we're licensed real estate agents. I get that. And I know that our real estate licenses say salespersons on them. But we are advisors, first and foremost. And once you embrace me as your advisor, now there becomes that element of trust. And we always say it on the show, rule number 1 in marketing is people buy from those that they trust. And you need to position yourself as a trusted advisor.
Yeah, and that's earned. That's earned by the questions that you ask and the sincerity that you have. When if I'm looking for a 4-bedroom, 2,000 square foot home with a 3-car garage on a, half-acre lot, there's so many clues already just in that short period of time that's going to identify the price range rather than saying what price are you in, right? And the more personal that you get, I want a larger backyard. Well, explain to me, what does that backyard look like? I want to put them in that backyard. I want them to visually see in their head what backyard they think they want to have, because that's going to help in that touring process, as well as it's going to help me. We're going to go into the MLS. We're going to find all these properties, and we're going to look at the backyards. We're going to look at the different things, and when they become when they know they're part of that process, versus that you're the one that is the controller of the process, and they're just there for the ride. That's when you start to earn their respect and their trust, and you don't make it about you, the realtor. You make it about the client always.
And I think one of the worst things that you can do, and there's two ways to look at this, is if a buyer tells you what they're looking for, and you start showing them homes that don't fit into that perspective, relevance. They don't trust you. They don't like you. You don't listen. But on the same token, even if you don't ask the questions, and you don't know, and the buyer has never told you really what they're looking for, and you're still showing them the wrong homes, you get the blame.
Well, I mean, so the follow-ups are going to do two things. It's going to help you set that expectation, which is, as I say all the time, we talk about it immensely. The better you set expectation, less disappointment. Before you start this home buying or selling journey, setting that expectation up front is going to lessen that disappointment. It's going to help you clarify what they're looking for. But if you've got a brand new buyer or someone that hasn't ever sold a home and they don't know what they don't know yet, that follow-up process is imperative, because then it gets them to open up more. That first question is off the top of their head. They have no idea. But as you ask more follow-ups, they get to sit there and think about it and maybe give you a little more insight, or it lets you, this is what I'm hearing you saying, but what we were talking about earlier was X, Y, and Z. Am I close, or have we gotten on a different page? And you're able to bridge that gap, because you do know more than they do, or you should. And if you don't, and we're talking about this, you're like, I'm terrified to have these conversations. Well, Claudia's on here right now. She's our director of coaching. That's why we have our coaching department. That's why we have our brokers, to help you be able to ask these questions, because that's really important thing to do.
When you're looking at a job interview and you're going for a leadership position, and your resume you've stacked your resume with leadership roles, the person doesn't look at the resume and go, oh, look at this history. You're going to be the perfect person for the job. They look at you and they say, you know what, Todd, explain, you said right here that this was one of your more favorable jobs. When you were a leader here, explain to me a situation in which you appropriately led somebody. Oh my gosh. That is such a deep, personal, now all of a sudden it really separates the interviewers who are just there to push numbers, and the interviewers who are really looking for a long-term candidate. Consider that when you're the real estate agent, you're the interviewer of the consumer. Put the consumer in that position. Let them share with you their deepest feelings, and you'll earn their trust.
That's why I'm no longer allowed to hire people. I don't ask those kind of questions. All right. Use curiosity to guide and not convince.
Same right there.
And this is powerful, because we are constantly, you can't force somebody to make a real estate decision. And I try to explain to agents all the time, people are on their own timetable. It's just, you have to be top of mind when you transact. Now working with a buyer that, oh my gosh, I think I met 7 or 8 years ago.
Wow.
And they're from Colorado, and the husband, right before COVID, ended up getting cancer. And now he's great, but I just never stopped,
Right.
staying in touch and checking in. And then like 3 weeks ago, they're like, hey, we're ready to go. We're moving. And now we're under contract.
Yeah,
So
and you continued that conversation. You continued to contact them because you cared, and
showed you cared.
you feel like they're your client. You want to be able to service for them and provide them that assistance. So it's great.
So we try to avoid persuading directly, even though there's always an element of persuasion.
Right. It's
but
not like this is a house for you.
Yep.
Since May the 4th be with you.
May
You
the
have
Fourth
to
be
let it
with you.
come
Yes.
from them. Yes.
We should talk about Star Wars in a minute.
Oh, we will.
But but ask questions that help clients, and this is the thing: ask questions that help clients reach their own conclusions. About the market. I'm just going to rent. Okay, well, now you're investing in somebody else's real estate 401k. How does that feel? I want to get them to the point. I don't want to invest in somebody else's retirement account. I want to invest in my own retirement account. But how does this home compare to what you said that you wanted most is a great question. What concerns would you want to resolve? And I love this one. What concern? Because don't make assumptions of why somebody's not willing to transact. That's the thing. You need to figure out.
You know what they say when you assume.
And and what do we need to overcome before you're ready to move forward? And let them articulate their own reasoning.
Yeah, consumers, if you just ask the typical questions, you're never going to learn what their deepest issues are that will persuade them to come to the realization. There was a time many, many years ago when it was in one of my first sales jobs, and I lost the volume production thing, and I was so used to winning, I could taste it every month. And so this guy beat me, and he was really a schizophrenic guy. I mean, he really wasn't a very good. Yeah, well, no, this guy was really. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that nobody anticipated, he was a sleeper, nobody anticipated him being able to do the job. At the end, I asked him, I said, Kevin, how did you beat me? He said, well, you're selling people. He says, you're out talking about all the benefits of the car. It was the automobile business. All the benefits of the car and all the benefits of all these other things. He says, but you're not bringing them to the realization of what they want to buy. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He goes, before you can tell somebody exactly what it is you want them to know, you first have to put them in a position to achieve that belief all by themselves. Mike, that's what you're talking about. You're putting people in a position, you're asking enough questions for them to self-discover, not you to be the rocket scientist. It's kind of like the word convert. We hate the word convert. You got to convert, but we hate it. Let the consumer convert themselves. Put them in a position to want to do business with you.
Yeah, Nick, you know my wife. This is the hardest part about being married to a PhD in psychology. I wake up and I'm like, man, I want to do laundry, and I don't know why I want to do laundry because I don't like to do laundry. I feel like I get manipulated.
Yeah, I mean, manipulation, conversion.
It's actually a good word if you look it up.
And these words aren't bad words. The mindset that they put us in is not necessarily the best. So what I would recommend, we talked about it a little bit last week. It's one of my favorite quotes, but go to YouTube, look up Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental, and just watch that scene while he's playing darts. And they do a really good job of telling that story and making you feel what he felt, and it's just a really cool thing. The other part, number 3, and Todd, you just talked about it, so I don't need to hit over the head again. Self-realization is the most powerful thing that we can have. It's a terrible analogy, and it's very crude, but if you tell a 5-year-old to do something and they say no, and then they hurt themselves because they didn't do what you said, they're not going to listen to you. They had to realize that on their own, and sometimes when we're working with individuals, they're that stubborn. But as soon as they come to that resolution on their own, oh my gosh. And it's not going to be your idea. It wasn't, you're not going to get credit for it. But now you get to win because they've now come to that resolution on their own.
All right. And, for me, and have a better starter question than what is your motivation. This is where we typically start. I start off every buyer consult, every seller consult with 2 questions. One, do you like money? And they typically will chuckle. And if you don't like money, I'm just telling you, we're not going to be a good fit. I mean, we're just done. And not to say that we're greedy, but my job is to ensure that you are getting the best deal. I need to know whether you like money. And number 2, what does the end of the road look like? What does retirement look like? And let's revert. And my job is to help reverse engineer it and leverage real estate to get you there. Yeah. I don't sit down and go, okay, what's your motivation for buying? What's your motivation for selling?
That's a very real question. And again, that buyer consultation can include so many different facets. If they're coming to you, we know that they're looking for investment property. That's what they're looking for, and that's what you specialize in. So why not push that forward. That is part of the conversation. And then when they start speaking to you, what they really want is going to come to light.
Yep.
So
that first part of the conversation, that initial icebreaker, is just like the same thing as if you're courting someone that you want to have a relationship with or anything else. What comes out of your mouth first sets the tone for the rest of the conversation, and you don't want to be just like every other real estate agent. So don't ask the same questions.
Yeah, it's like dating. You don't
That's what I'm
meet
saying.
someone for the first time and say, hey, what are your intentions with me?
Well, that would be better than starting off by saying, what'd you do this weekend?
well, sometimes you do though. Sometimes you just want to get down to what's going on here. So
All right, Claudia.
I have one quick thing. I need to give a shout out to a longtime podcast viewer, Nina LaRue. We flipped the camera today because we have the coffee mugs with the 40th logo on them, and last week you couldn't see them. So I flipped the camera, and she just messaged in and said that the camera flip has messed her up because she watches every single week. So big credit to you. Kudos to you. Thanks so much for tuning in every week.
Is she watching the
thank
back
you
of my
very
head
much.
right now?
No, it's just I'm on the
No,
other side because we wanted people to see the cool mugs that we had to honor the 40th anniversary that we're in.
Okay.
Anyway.
All
Hi,
right.
Claudia.
Well,
Yeah.
all right, Claudia, you
Welcome,
brought it
Claudia.
up.
Thank
May the
you.
4th be with you.
Yes, sir.
Let's start the big show off. Favorite Star Wars movie? I'm gonna
Oh,
go
the
across the
original.
table.
Careful,
the original
careful.
for me, because I was born in '77.
Which
so
one of the original?
Oh, you're
Oh, number
77.
one.
You're such a
I
kid.
am. I'm such a kid. I know.
Okay.
I know. But yeah, no, I love Star Wars, and it's funny because you find people that also love Star Wars out there in the world, and you have a little bit of a relation there. So sometimes when someone comes, I did have clients that they were huge Star Wars fans, and their daughter's name was Leia, and I was like, oh, like in Star Wars, and they're like, yes. I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, I have a dog named Solo, and that was an instant connection. They're like, oh wow. I'm like, yeah. I didn't say I also have a dog named Leia, but it was an instant little binder for us.
was
It was
awesome.
really great. Yeah.
My kid's school has a dog named Solo Cup.
Oh,
And I'm like, that's perfect.
kids with Solo cups. Yeah.
Same,
All
but
right,
different.
Todd.
I got nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Your favorite is Buck Rogers.
No. Gee, thanks. Yeah. No,
You have no favorite Star Wars movie. You're a grandfather, for goodness sakes.
I know.
All right, Nick, moving along.
Empire.
Empire. Okay.
100%.
All right, I'm with Claudia. The original. Changed my life. I saw it in the movie theater, and
Well, yeah, when you're 20 and A New Hope comes out, it's definitely a big, it's a big day.
it was a big day. I had it all. I had the big Death Star set up. I
Yeah.
had all the action figures and so forth. It just
And it's funny, the memories. Like, I remember going to Christown, going up that escalator, excited to go see that movie when I was a kid because they replayed it. Obviously, I had just been born. But when they had a huge thing and they replayed it, it was just such an event. It wasn't just a movie. And they do it again now.
Yeah.
It's grown.
All right, so real
All I
quick.
know is the spaceship cost about $360 for my grandson. So,
I got my 14-year-old daughter got into Star Wars on her own. I didn't push her. She just started to
Wow.
watch them. So we've been watching them chronologically. So I hit her with this morning, and then she shared it on her Instagram page. If you're expecting a Star Wars joke from me on May the 4th, then you're looking in Alderaan places.
All the
oh
wrong
my
ways.
gosh,
So that was the
that's
dad
awesome.
joke on
Yeah.
Star Wars.
And,
This is not the joke you're looking for.
No, exactly. And one real last thing. So I knew that I found my person when I first said those 3 words, I love you. And he said, I know.
Nice. Nice.
And then remember in Friends, it was thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're here to talk about the BINSR.
Yes, we are.
No more fun.
No more fun. Well,
No more
this
fun.
could be fun.
Okay. Yeah, I think the BINSR in a lot of ways is one of the most, and I'll call it the BINSR process, is one of the most confusing
Sure.
processes and how to complete how to understand the document, how it relates to the purchase contract.
Correct.
Is very confusing, and we wanted to talk about the BINSR.
Yeah.
I got a load of questions, but
I
I'm going
know
to let
you do.
you.
I know you do.
I'm going to let you start.
The most important thing with the BINSR is to read it. Read it. Not just once, read it a couple of times. So when you sit there and fill it out with your buyer client and you put what they would like to do, their election, let them know they cannot redo it. This is their chance. This closes out their buyer due diligence. So once you send it over to the other side, there is no redoing it. This is it. Anything can be done with addendums and everything is negotiable, but this closes out the buyer due diligence. So it's really important to know what they really want, what is going to make the difference in this transaction for them. This is their chance, right, to address those items. If you go into, and this is happening a lot right now, where we had a huge housing boom in the mid to late 90s and 2000s, all those homes have roofs that are now reaching the end of life, right? So whether they've been touched or not touched, the underlayment, this and that, they're coming to fruition. Now they're coming to that end of life. So if you on the listing side have a property, have a seller that says, oh, the roof is original, I've never touched it, address that concern. If we get buyers that are financed, this might pop up and they might be limited as to what we can do for them, especially if they're asking for concessions. So make sure that you're aware of that.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, as a matter of fact. When we were going down, we were talking about the fact of the age of homes and, what to start paying attention for. Well, the homes that we all thought were brand new homes are now at that 15th year.
I know.
And so everything potentially.
So you brought up the end of due diligence. And so I think this is one of the things that agents need to understand. Yes, you typically, unless you adjusted the purchase contract, there's a 10-day inspection period.
Correct.
Once you submit the BINSR to the seller, that inspection period now ends. If you submit it on day 5, you don't have another 5 days.
Correct. So the ability to cancel per BINSR stops as soon as you turn that in. That closes out the due diligence. And mind you, I used to be one of the agents that as soon as we got under contract, we were scheduling that inspection, and I wanted to get this BINSR over as soon as possible.
No.
But yes, so this is where I'm going. Sometimes the buyer needs to let it simmer. Let it simmer a couple days, day 6, day 7. Okay, great. As long as you know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer or buyers, hey, is there something in the condition of the home that we're going to ask for that would stop you from purchasing? Then okay, let's give it a day or two if they're on the fence. Because if you respond too quickly and then life happens, which does happen, then what? Well, you did have 5 more days, but you acted on day 5. Maybe let it simmer an extra day.
Yeah, the other thing too, Mike and Claudia, is that so many agents, we're busy. When we work hard. And we work hard 24/7, 365. But when we go on vacation, we're all excited about going on vacation. And so all of a sudden on Thursday, let's just pretend the inspection due diligence period ends on Sunday. And so we know we're going away for the weekend. We know we're not going to be back until late Sunday night, especially if traffic happens. So what we want to do is we want to go talk to our buyer on Friday, get the buyer to sign the BINSR, or Thursday even, and get everything and then send it over. What we're missing is the fact that while we're gone, the buyer could have been over at the neighborhood talking to a neighbor or walking through and found something about the neighborhood they decided they didn't like. And because you submitted the BINSR, you cut your buyer's opportunity for that off. So if you're going to do that, you need to make sure the consumer understands it's not that there's anything else. It's you have no more time remaining for you to make a decision to walk away.
Right. And that cancellation, that due diligence period is extremely important. Could you have a mutual cancellation after the fact? Sure. But again, that's mutual. Everyone has to agree. So again, this is a great way to speak to your clients about what their true intentions are, what they want from this home. If they're new home buyers, this is their first time, they're extremely strapped. It's a tight situation financially. And you know that there's a lot of repairs. Yeah, they're going to want to address the important ones and make sure that they make a sound decision. We never truly know. Buyers change their minds all the time. But again, it's that education. And like Mike said, we are their advisors. And read through the purchase contract, because if the buyer takes...
Just stop it.
I have to give you your wins every now and then. So, make sure you're having that conversation. And again, read it through. Yeah. If you go on vacation, we all deserve vacations and time off. Real estate agents, we get busier. If you're going to plan a vacation, make sure you have somebody that can take up the slack for you. Another real estate agent in your brokerage that can help you out. If you have a coach, reach out to your coach. If you have an agent in the office that you work with, if you're part of a team, make sure you let somebody know you're not going to be readily available. Even if you say, no, I've got it. I'm just going to Flagstaff. If you're there for a family graduation that's coming up next week, then you may not be able to be in the mindset to concentrate on business.
Yeah, and the last thing I'm going to say about submitting the BINSR early is this is also, at least for me, the BINSR process is another negotiating tool.
Sure.
And oftentimes, I love cash. I like to settle everything with cash. I don't think that the seller is going to, in most cases, repair something as good as my guy is going to repair something. So if I can get cash, and so the longer that you drag out the BINSR process means the longer that the house is off the market, the more amicable a seller might be to settling and doing more, as opposed to, hey, day 2, here's the BINSR.
Right,
you know?
right. So again, negotiation tactics here. There's a lot of things that you can do with this due diligence period. Like you said, if you wait it out a little bit, that makes sense. I am not a fan of day 10 last minute sending it through. I don't like that. I think once the client tells you they're comfortable, that's when you should act. It should really not be, oh, we're not going to turn it until day 10. You shouldn't be telling the client that. You should tell the client, you have 10 days. Per the contract, you have 10 days. Now,
I beg to differ.
Well, that's fine because you're using it as a negotiation, and I get it. It's a tactic. My thing for this is I'm not going to tell the client, the buyer, go ahead and order the appraisal because we don't know the condition of the home. We don't know if we have a meeting of the minds on condition.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a meeting of the minds on the contract and terms. But then now, do we have a meeting of the minds on condition of the property? If not, don't order the appraisal yet. I always tell my lenders, hold off. I'll reach out to the guys and say, hold off a minute. Buyer, nothing here that's going to flag, go ahead and order that appraisal because your buyer is going to incur some costs for that. And obviously, you don't want to do that if they're not in agreement with condition.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's the often confusing part of it is days.
Mm-hmm.
You have the BINSR, the inspection period is 10 days, so you have 10 days to submit the BINSR. Seller's got 5 days to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how they respond, then the buyer has another 5 days.
Correct.
But it's the day 0 that, I mean, if I submit a BINSR today,
Mm-hmm.
is today day 1 or is tomorrow day 1?
The day that you send it out is 0. Tomorrow's day 1.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. So if you go under contract, you want to make sure you're taking notes. So I like to use a closing sheet, even though I've been doing this for quite a long time. I still advise a closing sheet. Track your executed contract date. Track your inspection due date, right? Because it's a due date. And then once that's out, track your response date. So everyone gets confused. It's 10 days to inspect, 5 days for the response, 5 days from the buyer election at the end. And then it's 3 days prior to close of escrow for the repairs to be completed.
So there was an old-fashioned thing that they used to say in calculating days. If you did something today and put your back against the wall of a room, and if you did something today and you're going to take a step forward, that first step is tomorrow.
Correct.
So day 1 is always tomorrow. Based on that
So in
percentage.
theory, this is the mind-boggling thing for me that I think agents need to understand. In theory, the entire BINSR process could take 23 days if you count the 3-day zeros. Right? I got 10 days to submit, 5 days to response, and another 5 days to response. But there's 3 days where that document has been submitted. So in theory, it could drag out for 23 days.
If you're counting the day of delivery.
Yeah,
as
that's
your
what
day
that's
zero,
what I
right?
am. Yeah.
Yeah. As days, if you count those, yes. Now, I mean, you kind of went into girl math there for me, so I was kind of lost. But I take the print and I look at the print and I know that once we deliver, that's my day 0, right? So I start counting the next day.
So my point is if it can drag out that long, and you got a 30-day close of escrow, maybe you don't follow my advice and wait till day 10. I mean, it could, 'cause it could, depending on what you're submitting.
That's where the buyer comes in. The buyer's intentions, what they truly want. It's not about just getting the deal done. We can agree on extensions of close of escrow if that's the thing. If a buyer's not comfortable to move forward, you have to listen to your client. You have to listen to them. If they say yes, submit everything, and then, because life, like I said, happens and things occur. And let's say the buyer is gung-ho, they're ready, and then all of a sudden something happens in their life. Dang it, if I would have waited an extra day, I would have known a little bit better instead of acting on day 2. We've had agents that the client tells them, hey, I'm ready to submit. I'm gung-ho, I want to get it. And again, it's the reality of real estate. Things occur. So make sure you're just letting them know, hey, I understand you're gung-ho, you're ready to get this thing closed. Especially investors, they want to move quickly. That's understandable. But if it's a client that needs to really think about what they're asking for and the cost of things. So not only are you asking for these repairs, but if they're not agreed to, the buyer should have a good understanding of what it's going to take for them to get that house to par to what they want.
Yeah, remember, Mike, going back to the number of days, and not to beat a dead horse, but the point is the 10th day of your inspection period is day 0 for your BINSR if you're delivering it at the latest possible time, and then the 5 days is now the 0 day for you to submit it, and they now have 5 days. So it's actually, no matter how you look at it, only 20 days.
There you go.
Well, I did girl math, so
I don't
know. I don't know what that means.
I
don't know what that means, and I'm not going to comment anymore.
All right, neither am I, but that's
I
what I'm
can say
saying.
it because I hear it all the time.
Let's talk about you're representing the buyer. Let's talk about using clear and concise language when requesting repairs. I have seen things where I'm like, well, okay, I don't. You're not telling me to fix anything.
Right.
You're just drawing attention to something and putting it out there, and I'll be like, okay, well then.
Right. So, and inspectors have good verbiage. If you look at the inspection reports, they'll recommend repair, replace. They'll recommend further evaluation. You should definitely include that in your BINSR. What does the buyer want? Does a buyer just want further evaluation? If that's all they want, but it should be further evaluation and repair or replace, whatever is going to be needed.
Exactly.
If they don't want it repaired, they want it replaced, then it's replaced. So you have to pay attention. I am not a fan of just quoting the number of the inspection. No, spell it out. This is your ammo. This is the time where you can back up your request. Why would you not be as detailed as possible? Just make sure you have the details correct.
I had one recently. I was actually the seller on one, and in the BINSR, buyer wanted a question answered. Okay, well, all right, yeah. So I said no problem, and then at the end of the day, the answer was I don't know, and I didn't know the answer, and then that agent's like throwing a fit. I'm like,
they only asked for an answer.
They only asked for an answer, and guess what I gave you? I gave you an answer.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about also, and I want to talk more about language of, I push back hard when a buyer asks me to do a further inspection on something, because that is not my job as a seller. That's the buyer's job. I am not going to hire an inspector to look at the HVAC. I am not necessarily going to hire a roofer to go up there and so forth. If it's something that is important to you, don't put it on me as the buyer.
Right. So, and that's the thing. If a buyer does that, right? If a buyer does that and puts it on you as the seller to investigate, you're going to be hiring those professionals to come out and investigate, and then the buyer may not like that answer. So that's why the 10 days are there too. It's not just to have the one inspector. It's to have the pool specialist. It's to have the AC guy. If you know, for example, the AC is original, go and have someone check out the AC. If you're getting VA financing or FHA financing and the roof is original, maybe go get a roof certification. Have someone check that. Again, your advisor, us sitting here, we should be the ones telling the client, hey, this is going to be a matter of great concern for you. You should definitely have this looked at by a professional. Not just the inspectors do a great job, but if it's something like that where it's a pertinent part of the property, definitely have a specialist go out and take a look.
Mike, I think what you said, I want to make sure everybody walks away with what you said, because to me, this is the critical negotiating part of a BINSR, and or from a buyer's perspective, the BINSR, is the fact that the seller is not, you can write anything you want. And by the way, Claudia will back this up. The BINSR is not a document that will modify or alter the contract terms and conditions. So in essence, anything you write on that document is irrelevant. It's a disclosure concern. And if in fact, if a buyer writes they want the seller to have it inspected, shame on you. That is your buyer's job, period, end of story. Now, if it does say repair or replace something, now you better talk to the broker or just make sure that if it does say repair or replace, that you have to then do something with it. But your inspector that comes out to the house might say, this is fine. This is exactly the way it's supposed to be. I just had this happen. This is exactly the way this is supposed to be. So that the inspector did it wrong, or that the buyer requested something that isn't a problem. And so we were able to negotiate a couple of those things. But Mike, you said it, and I just want everybody to remember it. The seller is not responsible for having anything inspected at the buyer's request. It's the buyer who's responsible to conduct all their inspections, and then if they identify something that needs to be done, then they can ask if necessary.
The seller's obligation is to disclose.
Absolutely.
The buyer's obligation is to do their due diligence.
But if the language is vague, if you send me over, it says seller to do a further inspection on the AC unit, and that's all it says. I'm telling my seller, go out in the backyard, put on your glasses and take a look at the AC unit.
Mike, okay, so
it's been inspected.
We're gonna move on from that. Mike,
I'm kidding.
You know, I think they mistake the workmanlike condition a lot.
Yeah,
and I think that you might want to just say a couple of words on that, since it has to do with that, and how the fact that if you put by a licensed technician means nothing.
Right. So again, that goes back to reading the BINSR and reading your contract. If it's going to be a licensed contractor, something specializing, plumbing, any kind of AC work, anything that requires a permit or some kind of certification, you want to make sure that you have a professional doing it. And not only that, guys, I want to really, before we run out of time, I want to talk about what is, and you mentioned it a little bit, Todd, what goes on a BINSR and what does not go on a BINSR. So if you think about this, our real estate contracts are escrow instructions. Those are instructions for escrow to be able to transfer title to the new buyer. Does the BINSR go to the title company?
Nope.
No, it does not. So if you change a term on the BINSR, who's going to see it?
Even if it does go to the title company, it's the wrong document.
No.
Right.
So the addendum to the purchase contract is where you change any terms, pricing, concessions, extension on timeframes. That's on an addendum, not on the BINSR. The BINSR yes, you can put, in lieu of repairs, credit of this much, see addendum attached.
Right.
Your addendum attached would then only include the term that you're changing. It does not include anything about repairs. Now, if you have a cash deal, that is fine. The language really does not matter there.
That's a good point. If you send over a BINSR that says the buyer accepts the property, with the intent that you also sent over an addendum, you just accepted the property and the seller doesn't have to sign the addendum. So you have to make sure you tie that into the BINSR
I am
report.
a huge fan of quoting whatever you're changing. So anytime you're doing an addendum to change anything per line so-and-so or contrary to line so-and-so, go ahead, Mike, you have a thought.
No, I wanted to clarify because like I said earlier, I like to settle as much as I can with cash. So we're doing this a lot. And so I've learned over the years, when at the bottom of the response section of the BINSR, and I'll say, or in lieu of repairs, seller to credit X, above that, I am listing a ton of stuff on there so that in the event, you don't want the seller going, they only included one thing on the BINSR, and I would that's going to be a lot cheaper to take care of that. I want that BINSR now to be overwhelming so that in the event my buyer doesn't get screwed.
So that is your supporting document, right? So if your BINSR states, let's say 13 items that the buyer disapproves of, they're just not pulled out of the air, they're buyer disapproved items. At the bottom of page 1, like you stated, after all of those items are listed, You can put in there, and I do highly recommend, buyer wishes to solely address disapproved items with credit at close of escrow in lieu of repairs of whatever amount. And then see addendum, and then see addendum attached. So, but you have to list those items. That is your chance to prove, oh my gosh, there is a lot going on. And by the way, the inspection report is also that proof. But if you don't call it out on here, that's just knowledge on the home. And Mike, when do you get the inspection over to the listing agent if you're a buyer's agent?
Immediately.
Correct. Upon receipt.
Upon receipt, unless it comes in at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm looking at the keyboard and I see 3.
Right, and that works good. That works good for negotiation too, because if you send it to them right when you get it, and even if you don't submit the BINSR until day 7, let's say, then the other agent has now said, okay, we have the inspection, Mr. or Mrs. Seller or sellers, take a look at the full inspection. Here's what they found. And then they're going to start thinking, okay, they found that, they found this, they found, oh, I didn't know that. So now when they get the BINSR requesting the repairs, they can see, oh, yep, that's validated. I see why they asked for that.
Yeah, it doesn't always happen, but it's times when you get the BINSR or you get the inspection report, and I like sending it over to the sellers as well. I think that's a good practice because what the seller has to resonate is they're going to have to update their SPDS, including the things that are deficient. So that's part of the negotiation strategy. You want that listing agent to have that conversation with the seller before really you send your BINSR over.
And not only is it nice practice, but it is in the contract.
I was about to say, it's in the contract.
It's in the contract. The inspection is to be supplied to that listing agent and the seller upon receipt.
So 2 more things I want to tackle. So number 1, and I guess this would just be best practices. If you're going to send over a lengthy BINSR and possibly asking for cash, don't just send it over. I'm going to call you as the listing agent and say, hey, you've got the inspection report. Just going to let you know where we're coming from.
Right.
I don't want you to get caught off guard. I want you to prepare. These are the things that are important to us. My buyer will entertain the option of X amount of dollars and so forth.
Yeah, and that's you're a negotiator. You're not just a real estate agent that is advising, but you're also a negotiator.
Yeah.
That is a great time to have that conversation. Anytime you can call the other side, when you're going to call for availability, I mean, people don't do that anymore, calling for availability, you make that connection with the other agent so that when you go to write that offer and they receive it, oh, yeah, that's that agent. That's Mike. He was talking about investments and this and that and the other thing. They're going to remember something. Or they made that funny Star Wars joke. Okay, great. I know who this is. So you want to connect. And when you're doing the BINSR, this is a huge negotiating time frame. I'm a negotiator, so I love it. I love when I get the call. This weekend was phenomenal for calls, by the way. I got some great calls. Thank you guys for calling in and getting broker support. I really appreciate you keeping me busy this weekend. I really, really did enjoy it. There was a lot of negotiation conversations, and this is a great time to show your clients your worth. Yeah. You are negotiating on their behalf.
All right. Last thing I want to tackle is common mistakes when we are going to use the BINSR to cancel the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have seen some BINSRs come through that just has buyer elects premises rejected and then nothing else on the form. The purchase contract states that the disapproved items must be listed. And if you don't list them, you can be cured or you can cure for that. Is it going to go anywhere? No, it's still canceled. We understand this. But those disapproved items need to be listed. If you read your documents, you will see that on the contract. It needs to be.
What does the buyer waive if they don't put it on there?
They can waive their earnest money release, so their refund. And again, whenever you get to earnest money, it can be contentious because people don't know the language of the contract. If you read the print, it's not even fine print. I think it's all the same size. So that's not an excuse. Make sure you're reading your documents. You don't want to put anything in jeopardy for your client on either side. For buyer, it is that earnest money.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear about it. You have to you have to put in a specific reason, and how does that work? Or are there any challenges? Is if I use the BINSR to cancel the contract prior to getting a home inspection?
No, there's always reasons. So it could be physical and non-physical. It could be the vicinity to an airport. It could be things that they've taken into account to investigate. Again, it's buyer due diligence. It's not just because of the inspection. It's buyer due diligence, but you have to list the item as approved.
So obviously you, Dean, Kyle, and Dwayne, do you guys just for fun sit around and read BINSRs? I mean, I would have a blast at just on, and even mine.
So I was going to say, did someone tell you that we get around and talk about your files? Because
I know you guys do. I know you do.
No, guys. So we take everything that we do. Like you guys have the benefit of doing transactions on the daily and you learn from them. Us as the broker team, we learn from everything that you guys do. So we're taking in everything that's coming across the table. And yes, we like to converse within ourselves on tactics and things that we need to know and things that are coming up. This is why we have our broker updates at your office meetings. Look on your dashboard. Ding, ding. Thank you. And make sure you're attending your office meetings. Important, vital information is there. Like this. Be a hero. The blood drive. I have a blood drive that I love to be a part of at the corporate office every quarter. So we do 4 a year, and you guys have been so amazing at showing up and being there. That's one of the things I love about West USA. In times where agents wake up and they don't know who they're working for, we've been here for 40 years. 40 years. That is amazing, and it's a standout in our industry, and it's all thanks to our leadership. So I appreciate you guys.
All right, and then we got of course we have agent orientation. Yeah, a lot of great stuff. You'll find everything on the dashboard. Claudia, want to just say thanks again for another great Monday morning.
Thank you.
And may the 4th be with you.
Love
and
it.
Like, all right, leave you the quote of the day. May the 4th be with you. Appreciate everybody joining us. Go out and sell a home.